We're doing the air brake practical test for the Class A. There are 11 steps and you're allowed to have a checklist for those steps in front of you. And the first step is secure the vehicle. On the tractor trailer, you make sure you secure your wheels with the wheel blocks. One wheel block on the front, the other one at the rear. Then you will go into the truck and make sure your parking brakes are on. Yellow, that's your tractor parking brake, and red, that's your trailer parking brake. And this is the checklist you are allowed to have in front of the examiner. Now you will do the step number 2, which is test the low air pressure warning device. You will start the engine. And these are your gauges. The bottom gauge, that's your rear, which is primary. Front, that's your secondary. And this one is your brake application. And this one is your RPM gauge. And when you start the step number 2, tell the examiner my air pressure is over 90 psi, which we have already. And then you start pumping your brake pedal, reduce your air pressure, and see when the warning device activates. Our warning device activates around 65 psi, which is good. If it activates below 55 psi, the vehicle is defective. Now you're doing the step number 3, which is you're testing your air pressure build-up time. You have to tell the examiner your RPM is between 600 to 900. And you time it with your stopwatch from 85 psi to reach 100 psi. You have a stopwatch. When you see your air pressure is 85, then you time it. So it's almost 85 psi, and then you time it. And same time you can look your air pressure. It should not take more than 2 minutes to reach 100. And your RPM is 600 to 900 RPM. So we are at 100 and we stop the time and we tell the examiner, okay, it took 1 minute 12 seconds, which is good. If it takes more than 2 minutes, defective. Now you're doing the step number 4, which is you're confirming air compressor governor settings. So we are building up our air pressure. We make sure our air pressure has to cut out between 100 and 135 psi. We are waiting to listen the purge sound, which tells us like our air pressure is already maximum. So in all the air tanks, the maximum air pressure you needed should be between 100 and 135. Should not be over 135 or should not be less than 100. So that's our cutout, which is around like 125, which is good. If it's over 135 or less than 100, it's defective. So now your air compressor is not working. Now if you reduce the air pressure below 100, it should start building up again. So we are reducing the air pressure by pumping the brake pedal just below 100, and we will wait. If the air pressure starts rising up, we tell the examiner my cut-in is working. Our air pressure starts rising up, you can see from the needles, so our cut-in is working, and if it's below 80, defective. So your cutout was between 100 and 135. And your cut-in should not be less than 80. Now we are doing the step number 5, which is test the air loss rate. So in the air loss rate step, first you make sure to release your tractor parking brake and your trailer parking brake. We have the wheel chuck, so our vehicle is secure. And then you make sure your air pressure should be in the normal operating range, which I will say is better to have it over 100. So we are checking our air leak in the system. One tractor and trailer, you should not lose more than 4 psi in 1 minute. It's already over 100. Then we will turn off the engine. We turn the key on back again. And we hold the brake pedal and we time it for a minute. And we keep an eye on the gauges and we look at the time. For 1 minute, we should not lose more than 4 psi. We have a 1 minute. We didn't lose any air pressure, which is good, but if we lose more than 4 psi, vehicle defective. Now we are jumping on the step number 6, which is test the automatic application of the trailer brakes. We just pull the red supply valve out to hear the exhaust. We heard the exhaust, that means our trailer brakes are working. If there was no exhaust, the vehicle is defective. You have to use the word defective for every step to tell the examiner. Now we are jumping on the step number 7, which is testing the tractor towing vehicle protection valve. We will go down and we will remove our blue service line. And we will not touch our yellow or red. We'll put the blue service line on the side. We go into the truck, hold the brake pedal, listen any air coming out from the blue service line. We don't hear any air leak, which is good. If we listen any air exhaust from the blue service line, the vehicle is defective. Then you go down and you put your blue service line back. Make sure you connect them properly. And then now you are doing the step number 8, which is testing the parking brake. And you can remove your rear block, put it on the side, go into the truck, and we're going to test our tractor parking brake and trailer parking brake by putting in the reverse gear. So we're doing the step number 8, test the operation of the spring brakes. We start the engine. So our tractor parking brake is released right now and trailer parking brake is on. So we put in a reverse gear. Give it a little gas. So vehicle doesn't move. That means our trailer parking brake is working. Then you pull the yellow, your tractor parking brake is on, release your trailer, try to move, vehicle doesn't move, it's good. If it moves, that means our parking brake is defective. Put it back into neutral. We will go down and we will put our wheel blocks back. Plus we will tell the examiner we are doing the step number 9, which is draining the air tanks. Make sure your air pressure is almost 90-100. You can see where the gauges are. You can turn off the vehicle and turn on the key back again. We're going to locate which one is our supply tank, which one is our primary and secondary. But first we make sure we put the wheel block back. We have 3 air tanks. We look over air pressure already. It was about 100. We drained the very first air tank. Almost 10 to 15 seconds. We didn't see any sludge. Go back into the truck. We look at the gauges. No needle move. That's my supply tank or wet tank. We drain the second air tank. We don't see any sludge. And our front needle went down, so this is our front tank, which is secondary air tank. So we drain all these 3 air tanks. We didn't see any sludge. So we can see our rear needle went down. So that's our primary air tank. We will tell the examiner which one is supply tank, which one is secondary and primary. And there's no sludge. And make sure you mention the examiner. All the drain valves are working. If they're not working, vehicle defective. Now we are doing step number 10, which is inspecting the brake adjustment. Examiner will ask you to check the brake chamber either on left side or the right side. You start the engine. Make sure you have a wheel chocks. Make sure your air pressure is close to 100. Because when you are measuring the push rod, make sure your air pressure has to be between 90 and 100. So in this step, you will tell the examiner what kind of brake chamber you have it. All the information you have on this reference, like a chart. We will tell the examiner what kind of brake chamber diameter is, what kind of marking is, what size of brake chamber is, and how much push rod adjustment limit is. On the front, we got 20 standard, and adjustment limit is 1 inch and 3/4. Meanwhile, our air pressure is already close to 100, and we release our parking brakes. Don't forget to release your parking brakes, both. And make sure we have a wheel chocks. We will open our hood so we have access to the brake chamber, and we will turn the wheel to the left side. The most important thing is in this step is you release your parking brake and make sure your air pressure is 100. And then you need the chalk to mark on the push rod, and you need the measuring tool to see how much the push rod comes out. We already have 100 psi, engine off, key on. We will go out. We open the hood. Look at the brake chamber. So we mentioned the examiner. Okay, the outside diameter of the clamp is 172 millimeter, which you have on the paper, and your port is circular. There's no L stamp, and there's no stroke tag, which can tell you how much push rod should travel. So this brake chamber size is 20 standard, because it's a circular port, no stamp, and no tag. And then you mark on the push rod. And then you apply the brakes. Use the clamp spreader, we have it. One side on the brake pedal. And then you make sure you're tightening up. And the most important thing here is, after when you fully applied, check your air pressure. Should be between 90 and 100. Examiner will make sure the air pressure is between 90 and 100. And then you go out. You measure your push rod. See how much the white mark came out. It's only 1.5 inches, which is good. If it exceeds the limit, which is 1 3/4 inches, which you can see from the measuring tool, if it goes more than 1 3/4 inches, defective. So 1.5 inches is good, more than 1.75 inches is defective. The last step is, what is your response to defective vehicle condition? The last step. You mention the examiner. If the vehicle is defective, I report to the owner and is prohibited from any operation. Thanks for watching the video, and you have a good luck for the test.